Okay, we're just going to dive right in here. And let's see, how's the best way to do this? This is pull the camera out of the caddy and try not to shut it down. What I want to show here, we're going to have to get some more light on the subject, I see. By the way, this is not going to be a studio quality recording with high production value, excuse me, which means there will be no editing to remove things like throat clearings. I want to point out how a situation like this can cause us major striations. We didn't get this email, or it wasn't immediate, and it got overlooked in the glut of emails that come in. So this isn't a direct fault of the email problem, and yet it might be. Could very well be. This has put us in a very tough situation. We need to know these things. Now, why these are sent to Gmail, I don't know. These were printouts that my wife gave me. Okay, moving on. Let's see, let's put that over here. This is the last communication that we got from Hostway. So here it is. Again, use pause control if you have a need to read. This is from Ken C. So March 3rd, yada yada, 1850 Central. Please be informed that we should immediately remove the third name server. We've already been through this. This is the main problem. I'm unable to do that. And as will be seen as I finish up with this aspect of things, well, wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, pause control if necessary. So there's that. And this is just the thread. What I really want to show here is the amount of paperwork that gets generated that we, the customer, have got to wrangle ourselves. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if we had created the problem, but as I will attempt to show, and will probably do so with aplomb, this is already something else that was covered in the previous video clip. Okay, we've just been having problems for quite a few months. They show up and then they go away. So the problem is intermittent. It could be related to this business with GoDaddy. Excuse me a second. And the antiquated mail servers. I'm still not getting answers to my questions, which I will cover in a moment because I'll be reading from my notes. I decided to actually sit down, take pen in hand, or in this case, automatic pencil, and cover these things because this is, forgive the terrible pun, a post-child event that covers a whole lot of situations that people have to put up with. So anyway, okay, mail system, problems with the mail system, yada, yada, yada. So as you can see, the pile is growing. These are things that we're expected to take care of. This was just Friday. So we're being advised by our technical people at Hostway that we have to handle something. But I'm going to put myself back here. I'm doing a selfie because please read my lips. We did not generate the problem. We were absolutely not the occasioners of whatever went wrong. We've done nothing, have changed nothing, made no changes to the GoDaddy account, and I'm getting ahead of myself. So I just want to, from the very outset, this is the take-home. This is what they used to call pack your bag moment, meaning you could pack your suitcase right now and jump on the plane having received something of value. When I say you, I'm talking hopefully upper management of this company called Hostway. For a long time, prior to about a year and a half ago, I'm not sure if that was when, oh golly, I am going to hit pause here for a moment. All right, we're back on the horsey again here. this is something that I know what we'll do is we'll go ahead and make a screen grab recording of this in case I, at some point in the future, find it necessary to edit it in here rather than, again, we're not trying for production value, but sometimes it's very helpful. We want to make this accessible and relevant to the average consumer, because we are getting ready to ramp up this whole situation. By now, probably it's been seen that, yes, I am the Velvet Doberman. No, this didn't really start out as being a Veldob rant, which is otherwise known as a RAR, R-A-A-R, riffin' and rantin'. So this is the riffin' part. I'm going to riff for a little while. So, all right. Let's get a captain's log star date here, which I should have done to begin with. And, well, actually, what I should have done is start this recording. I think I'm probably somewhere in the frame here, which I didn't expect to happen because I'm going to be turning my back on this at some point. Well, I said it wasn't going to be high production value, otherwise I would stop this recording. Let's do the CLSD again. Captain's log stardate. And then what I was going to make reference to, it seems as though when Emil, I don't know how to pronounce the name, apologies, Sayeh, who is the current CEO and president, I believe, having succeeded Robert Bowles, who succeeded someone who, in my, let's move this out of the way. Actually, let's just do it this way. Our management. Well, I don't have to get into this. I'm accumulating quite a number of files that deal with the management, because what I'm doing is trying to figure out what's going on here. Why are we being led around by the nose? Not that anybody's doing it deliberately. We're not slapping anybody's wrist, which I can't do while holding the camera, and saying, oh, bad person. But policies and procedures sometimes get really scrambled up. All right, that's all I wanted to show there. Let's resume the whole point of this. Okay, now let's look at what we call drain on TED. As I mentioned in one of the previous video clips, we're running one viable business, which is what is keeping the doors open. And I am writing what could be very well a Broadway show. And I also have the Velvet Doberman possibility of the TV program, and a couple of other things. A program for teaching the 6-string electric bass. That is in the lower priorities. So there's a lot going on here, and I do not yet have a team or a staff. So that means I have to stop what I'm doing to write all of this up. These are the notes that I was talking about. Excuse me, low production value, and I will be reading from these in just a moment. And I'll try to make this as short as possible. Oh, wow. I had another page and didn't realize it. I stopped there. Well, this is really, again, the pack your bag moment. We did not cause this situation. End of story. All right. So, as you can see, we're getting quite a bundle here. This is paltry by comparison to some of the bundles that I've had to deal with, and particularly in the consulting work that I do, sometimes with enterprise-level corporations, and explain that the very first order of business is to determine who is the culprit. You know, what I refer to as the culpa. Sometimes it actually resides with the consumer, in which case we have to take our lumps. I personally teach logic and also ethics and values, sometimes to children. So I have to get up and walk my talk. So what you're going to be hearing here as I walk my talk here in my bare feet, is going to be the gall-darn truth. You know, the absolute down-to-earth, bare bones, straight from the shoulder, fluken truth. And that is, as I pointed out here, the last thing I pointed the camera at, we didn't do this. We changed, read my lips, nothing, no thing was changed. So where did it come from? Ghost in the machine? Okay, but we're paying money out for something that should be working first time, every time. Of all things that are available in this new millennium of preoccupation with technology, the very first thing that needs to happen is the email system, which is actually very fundamental, very basic, and refers back, oh golly, to shortly after ARPANET. This is not rocket science. So when all of a sudden we round a corner and things aren't working, yours truly, the Velvet Doberman, in quotes, hard to do with one hand, is going to be looking at where does the responsibility lie. Sometimes it's a joint responsibility, in which case, all right, then we have a joint responsibility in terms of who, quote unquote, pays for correcting the situation. But what we've got right now, despite the fact that, and I'll get into this, well, I'll just get into it now. This is the riffing part, remember. So I believe that I'm probably going to be relatively in frame here. Once again, low production value so that people can relate to it, so people can understand it. All right. I'll be actually almost reading this. So if I stumble over my words and can't read it, well, there you go. It'll be emblazoned forever for posterity, on YouTube, unless I take it down. First, a Veldob compliment to Hostway. And this is why I brought up the past CEO. It seems as though that transition point where I really can't pronounce his last name, Emil, thank you, sir, put in some really great corrections, particularly choosing some very bright people in the city of Sofia in Bulgaria to take care of the tech support. I was astounded at how much better it all of a sudden was. I don't very often call tech support, but let's say maybe 2 years ago, I'm what's the word? I'm eyeballing it. Nothing's coming up. Sorry about that. Sue me. All right, so somewhere in the transition, something really worthwhile took place, and I want to commend that. If you go to the Velvet Doberman splash page, which is temporary and also outdated, as probably was noted, one of the things that makes our crusade, if you will, our approach to consumer advocacy and activism different is the fact that there's a lot of bad news going on when things go wrong and when people are not taking care of business, and a lot of chattering and a lot of posturing and rhetoric and yada yada yada. When they go right, it seems like that just kind of gets forgotten. You know, we just sail off the end of the world like Jack Sparrow in whatever that movie was, Disney movie. Anyway, so a Veldob compliment, it says here. Thanks for A, the promptness in communication, rather. B, the humbleness in tone in these communications here. It seems like people really care and want to help. That's great. But there's the whole point of this particular video, which will be video number 5, is something is missing. A very important aspect is missing, and we'll get to that. Okay, here we go. So, humbleness in tone, put another way, willingness to help. Moreover, the personalness of the touch, human touch and communication. In other words, it's not a form letter approach. Congratulations, props. And also the suggestions, we're getting suggestions, but it's still falling short of the mark. Again, we'll get to that. Is what to do to correct this particular sitch. for us. Not that we have to do it ourselves, which is where we are currently residing. Everything has been kind of plowed over. Picture a bulldozer plowing it over onto our side of the tennis court. And that ain't right. So, now, second, where it falls short of true support, pause for dramatic effect, A, recognizing that since we are paying out to you, meaning Hostway, that customer service means going the equal mile. Right there. The equal mile. And it's falling short. Or even the extra mile. When we deal with our customers, we go the extra mile. We make sure that even if they've flubbed up somewhere, what is the old thing? 1, 2, it's 3 horse. There's an old joke about that. 3 counts and you're out. 3 strikes. Sometimes it's 2, depending on the attitude of whom we're dealing with. But all right, what does that mean? Going further, the whole distance, not just the minimum, the whole distance, not just the minimum that'll keep the customer off your back. And again, pause for dramatic effect. The whole distance, not just the minimum that'll keep the customer off of your back. In this event, what would that look like? Meaning this situation that we're in right now. Well, round up this is what I meant about reading my own notes. All, parentheses, not just the most obvious, hard facts. Round them up. Let's take a look at everything. Get them all out on the table. Lay them out sequentially in order. Yes? So that we can see, but not like that. In order of date, so that we can see, okay, this happened. If, then, well, that's the else, programming language. If, then, else. From that else, if, then, what? Welse. That doesn't make sense. Round up all right. A, hard facts, the most screamingly obvious, which usually gets skated right over, and have in this case. These are obvious. If you just stop and think about it and don't overreact, realize I'm not overreacting yet. It hasn't got to the legal stage yet. It hasn't got to the we invoice for our time yet. Time, energy, and disposition, we call it around here. TED. Drain on TED. Time, energy, and disposition. But it's pushing the envelope. We did not cause this problem. Either you or GoDaddy did. Now, I want to get ahead of myself because I think I cover it here. I asked a question in one of the other videos, and I would think that whoever watched the video would have a legal pad and a pencil writing these things down. This guy, he seems to be on the level. He doesn't seem to be trying to get over on us at all. He seems to be appreciative of what we are doing. That entitles him to going beyond the map. So here's a thought. I'll go pick up this, pretend that's a legal pad, and write these down. I asked to have this explained to me. Why is GoDaddy in the loop? Yes, I am IT trained. Yes, I have built many of these computers that you see or worked on them. So in most cases I know what I'm doing, but I don't know everything, and I've never made a down and dirty study of how email always works. And of course there are always vagaries anyway. If that's too big a money word, all of these variations and trips down a rabbit hole and tributaries, things that go over there and they go over there, and well, that won't work because Microsoft says because these guys here didn't do their coding correctly. So we call up those guys, the third-party application developers or author, and they say, oh no, that's Microsoft's help. And here's the poor customer in the middle going, boom, ba-dee, ba-ta, ba-doo, and getting madder and madder and madder. Let me insert, if I ever do use this, let's say professionally, that clip from the movie Network. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Oscar-winning movie, written by the eminent playwright Patty Chayefsky, excuse me. Golly, who was in that? Faye Dunaway. Finch. Peter Finch, who threatened to blow his brains out on national TV. That was the premise. Incredibly brilliant story. And then that was his last movie. He passed away after that. Give us your pause. Things to think about. What is it? Oh, something to think about. Yeah, I sometimes have to entertain myself to keep from blowing my stack. All right, we did not cause the problem, either you or GoDaddy did. Therefore, in the name of real customer service, it's for you guys to fix it. End of story. Not for us to call GoDaddy, waste more time on the clock, etc. ad nauseum. No. You don't get to pile it all on our plate and then give it back to us for us to do. We call this palming, in quotes, as in palming something off on somebody. All right, page 2. I'm going to speed up, see if I can ramp this up a little bit. And not taking full responsibility. So palming is shuffling it off and say, yeah, we didn't do it. But it comes from the fact that companies are made up of what? Buildings? No. Building is empty until people move in. When the people move in, we have the combination of all these personalities and all these functional or dysfunctional distortions and things that happen in life. Again, not saying bad people. We like people. I actually have done trainings, several of them, and have a product that will probably be on the market one time soon called The Plateaus that is absolutely up with people. The Broadway show to which I referred. It's called Uplife. It has to do with the music is all music that celebrates life and brings about joyfulness. What does not bring about joyfulness is people having to be led around by the nose and have to basically, just look at some of my other videos. None of them are at, what do they call it, a viral status yet. And that's because we haven't seen fit to have that happen. We want to get our ducks in a row and line it up. But before the show hits the air, you can better believe it, all of this stuff is going to be coordinated, consolidated, and very carefully crafted so as to get people's attention, because I'm here to tell you there are a lot of people that are going to be able to relate to the exact things that I'm saying right now. All right, not taking full responsibility. We have email communications from your side of the court publicly stating that you're making changes, severally, I believe, in parentheses, to your system in general. This is over a period of time. So not immediately, not in the here and now, but this has been happening over time, and I'll get to that. Your system in general, email protocol in specific, that almost undeniably suggests that something that you did, again, the company, was the origin of the problem. So sidebarly, that's a term, why would GoDaddy, unprompted, just arbitrarily, go about changing only one of our DNS statuses, I guess is what I mean here, or characteristics? At one point, before I began thinning the herd, we had some 40 domain names up until just a few weeks ago, actually, a few months ago. So we had a lot of domain names. We had no problem with any of those, and never was anything changed DNS-wise. I realize there's email involved here, so yes, that would be the distinguishing characteristic. Well, why would GoDaddy do that? They wouldn't be poking around there and one day say, "Oh, golly, let's here's Dion's stuff here. Let's just scramble these around and watch him trip and fall over himself." I don't think so. All right, so excuse me. All DNS status. I said that. All signs point to Hostway's upgrades as per the emails that were disseminated to customers. And I have a couple that refer to that very thing here in the archives, and there are more. So the dates, well, we can get into that, but this is, at that point is when we start going on the clock and invoicing for our time out of day, or TOOD. I'll say, I'm making a reference, something about OX. And now I've got a little sidebar about this. What is it? We have an email that talks about OX. You, the customer, is going to be experiencing something about OX. No explanation, as far as I remember. We don't use site mail, but sporadically. Not that that matters. May of last year. Okay. Coincidentally, Sue started having issues with her email. So this has been going on for a while, but it hasn't been so serious that we've had to make a federal case out of it, if you will. So, I lost my place. Later that year. So she started having issues with her email. She's a top trainer in the Los Angeles area, software trainer, works for some extremely prestigious corporations, and she needs her email to be working. That's why we pay. I know I'm kind of maybe overstating the point, but that is the point. And that is what gets overlooked in so many cases. That's why I am finally making an issue out of this situation so that it can be seen that this overlays so many situations that are increment by increment, millimeter by millimeter. This stuff has weight. It has mass. This is hard science, by the way. Check it out. Google it. These irritations and exasperations, eventually, I mean, how many times have you had a day where nothing went right, and finally, toward the end of the day, just exploded because it was too much? This is some of the reasons I believe, certainly can't prove it, that people go out sometimes and buy assault weapons and just start blowing people away. You know? Just stop and think about that for a minute. The frustration of not being able to get things done, not being given enough information, I've already referred to that. You know, ox, what is it? Well, that's a one tiny thing. Tiny, little minuscule thing. But nickels and dimes, as I've said so many times, oh, it was poetic, add up to dollars. And if you have enough nickels and dimes, you can have $1 million. You may not be able to get into the room where it's stored because of the volume of it, but you can have $1 million and even pennies. So these little tiny millimeter-ish increments, they build up and they actually do have mass. It's been more or less, and mostly more, scientifically proven. So this is where lives are being ruined incrementally by the subtlest of degrees because of folks not really understanding. It's not bad people, like I've said. No, we're not saying bad people. We're saying uninformed people. Well, it's time to get informed, and that's what I'm doing right here, right now. Also about that time, exaggerated delays. Now we're back to the problems with the email. So specifics, with email, which Hostway admitted to in communications with your server. In other words, there are emails in our archives that point to that, saying, we realized we were having some problems. Well, I'm sorry, but 99% plus uptime is required when it comes to email if people are going to depend upon you for their livelihood. Okay, the wordy of sendouts. In terms of people who understand. Oh, here we go. So I'm asking myself to show or point out the wordiness of sendouts, or the wording. Sorry about that. I mean wording. The parentheses wording of email communications regarding changes made to policies, procedures, technical functionalities, protocols, and so on. The wordings of that are quite often half-measured. And we have some of them, a couple of them right here. They're half-measured in terms of giving people understandable information that make possible solutions on the part of users. If the wording is murky, now please metabolize this. If the wording is murky or requires pre-knowledge of terminology, it amounts to, again, palming something off. We're in too much of a hurry. We can't deal with that. Just write it and get it out. Roll them trucks. Also, no matter how you stage it, it admits to palming also. Well, I said I would be tripping over my text here. No matter how you stage it, then, something about this current situation, which is what really triggered this, touched off the conflagration, if you will, the $50 word. Something about this current situation just doesn't add up. Oh, on the bottom of this page it said, as always, I'm available to help. That's true. I consult on these things. and I can get down to the nitty-gritty, and often do, have done it at enterprise, all the way down to individual one-on-one levels quite successfully. Track record is about 97%, so it's running pretty high right now, and always has. So I am available. So that's the end of that pitch. All right, so moreover, and again, my questions were not directly addressed. Particularly, I asked, what is going on under the hood? Explain it, please. How do these things work? In the video, one of the previous video clips, I used the word gazintas, gazaltas, the tributaries, or the nodes and lattices. Again, the if, then, else's. How does it work? I would like that explained to me in terms of the fact that we're spending money for this service, and I'm entitled to it. Tell me how it works. Well, it wasn't mentioned in that last communication with which I started this video. All right, so what goes on under the hood? As noted about delays going back to 2017. Oh, well, I already showed that. I had said that I would address that. I said that earlier, and that's what I'm talking about now. This whole thing about emails delayed, that can have extreme, astronomically horrible consequences. And it was revisited just 3 days ago. It was Friday, as a matter of fact, just last Friday. Today being Monday, the 5th of March. Okay, so that's in the printouts. In conclusion, we did not create these irregularities. Roman numeral 1. Roman numeral 2. We are the paying party. Therefore, are entitled to equal measure, by law, by the way, equal measure, which in currency equates to service, hopefully above and beyond service, as contrasted with the least possible. I'm not saying that we've received no customer service. I am saying that there's the wrong emphasis on the right syllable, or the right emphasis on the wrong syllable. One way or another, it is just not workable. And one of my mentors, a very well-known Dr. Melda Barron, wrote a book called The Workable Workplace. This is not workable for people. So it's not up... Okay. So I'm not being arbitrary here, which you'll see referencing the many complimentary remarks in the previous video clips, and also at the beginning of this. I read them right off of this sheet. The many complimentary remarks and observations made thus far in the growing collection of videos, and even the beginning of this. Well, I already said that. All right, it's not up to us to fix this, which can easily be concluded by anyone of even rudimentary technical knowledge, simply by playing back the videos in this playlist in order. Remember, we talked about the value of putting things in sequence rather than just trying to carry it all around in one's head. No, you just put it in sequence and you can see that led to that, this, then else. Oh, I see. Well, that changes the whole complexion of the situation. If that part had been over there, we would have probably jumped to contusions over here. I'm just trying to be entertaining. Again, sue me. All right, we didn't cause the problem. It has already cost us. I've already shown that. And yet, here am I preparing another YouTube post. It may be subtle to some, but the responsibility mark, I like that. I think I'll adopt that. Responsibility mark. Question mark, exclamation point, responsibility mark. Years ago, I came up with an idea. I was conjuring. As a matter of fact, these things are usually just given to me. They come hurtling down the pipeline from what I call the muse. I don't make this stuff up. I can't take any credit for it, quite frankly. It was something called the fourth R. The fourth R. I was driving to Irvine to attend a network marketing convention, I believe. And all of a sudden, those words just appeared in my head, in my mind. not so much my head. We'll get into that later. And the fourth R, and it took me 2 or 3 days of conjuring with that and ruminating until I realized what it was. The fourth R is responsibility. But it shouldn't be the fourth R. It should be the first R. The fourth R. And I actually devised a video game based upon ethics and values for kids that emphasized the fourth R, which unfortunately never made it into society, or hasn't yet. Could be another thing that, well, you get where I'm coming from, I hope. All right, so we didn't cause it, but the responsibility mark doesn't lie at our end of the court. And this is causing us, the customer that is paying up, admittedly, a rather small monthly amount, but you never know how that could change. We might start using Hostway as our major servers. We might start placing all of our videos on that server when all of this explodes, which it's poised to do. And then it would be a lot less. There would be a lot more value in us as a customer to your company. You just never know. So it isn't really. It's a matter of principle now. Now it's personal. You see, it isn't just how much do we contribute to you. Well, those are small fry potatoes. They just, all they do is, there's hardly any traffic on this server here. Well, we're still paying X number of dollars a month. And since we didn't cause the problem, what is wrong here? I think the coin needs to be flipped over. Last time I heard, you can't spend one side of a two-sided coin. So I'll leave it with that. This is longer than I thought it would be, but gosh, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And it looks like it's coming down to the Velvet Doberman. I simply want this fixed, but this would make pretty good television viewing. Don't you agree? Well, again, something to think about. Veldobe out.